The United States is home to some of the most haunted locations in the world. From homes that were the scene of horrific crimes to the White House, in terms of paranormal, America pretty much has it all. And with the most number of recognised haunted locations around the world, it's not hard to find hundreds of haunted spots in every state. This huge and history-rich country is in the spotlight for episode 2 of our Most Haunted Locations Around the World series. So hit the lights, sit back, and enjoy. Dudley Ghost Town. In northwestern Connecticut, within the town of Cornwall, lies the remains of the abandoned Dudley town. There are few traces left of the original village, just a few cellar holes and foundations remain, and the place is slowly being claimed by the surrounding woodland. But this is not just another abandoned place. For many years, it's been plagued by rumours of evil spirits, ghosts and curses, many of which surround its dark past during occupation. The town was founded in the 1740s, and from the start, it's thought the high lead content in the drinking water was causing death and dementia. There was also an epidemic that was wiping out families, and a bizarre incident when local resident General Herman Swift, who had served under George Washington, found his wife dead on their porch, struck by lightning. The incident caused him to descend into madness. There were also many suicides and child disappearances. Nowadays, it's said that birds do not sing in the forests near the site, and the place is a lure for Satanists and black witches, who regularly perform rituals in the woods. It also attracts ghost hunters and paranormal experts. In fact, the place is now officially closed to the public due to the amount of visitors. There is definitely something strange about this place. Even noted demonologist Ed Warren believed Dudley Town was cursed, saying the area had an aura of disaster. Visitors have reported feeling a chill as soon as they enter the area, and there are many reports of people being followed by a black mass. I'd be interested to know if any of you have visited this place, and your thoughts on it. Union Cemetery. Union Cemetery is another location based in Connecticut, and is thought to be the most haunted graveyard in the United States. The cemetery dates back to the 1700s, and sits beside the Eastern Baptist Church, close to the intersection of Route 59 and 136, but it's far from being a forgotten graveyard, and to this day it still hosts burials. However, in paranormal circles, it's the home of the White Lady, an apparition that has been witnessed dozens of times since her supposed death in the 1940s. The evidence supporting this is pretty compelling, and Ed Warren also claims to have seen the ghost after a stakeout at the cemetery in 1990. He claimed that at 2:40 a.m. he heard the sound of a woman weeping, and when he looked out to the headstones, he could see little spots of light fusing into the shape of a woman. Ed and his wife Lorraine were so convinced of the White Lady's presence that they wrote a book about it entitled Graveyard. The legend of the ghost has a couple of different versions. One account claims she died during childbirth and was buried in the cemetery, but her confused spirit could not rest, and she wanders around the cemetery at night. Others say she was murdered by her husband and thrown into a sinkhole behind the church. The White Lady supposedly has a habit of appearing from nowhere in front of cars as they drive by, causing them to brake and veer to avoid hitting her. However, when they stop to check the woman is okay, she is nowhere to be seen. On one occasion, a local firefighter was driving by the cemetery when a dark-haired woman in a white dress walked out in front of his car. He felt the impact as he hit her, and the front of his car was dented. However, after a thorough search of the area, nothing was found. But the White Lady is not the only ghost that is said to haunt Union Cemetery. It's also said to be haunted by Red Eyes, believed to be the spirit of Early Kellogg, a local man who set fire to the street in 1935. This ghost has been spotted peering through bushes with glowing eyes and following people, but when they look around, no one is there. RMS Queen Mary. RMS Queen Mary is now permanently moored as a tourist attraction, hotel, museum, and event facility in Long Beach, California. But she had a long career as one of Cunard Line's express superliners. She was a huge ship that was bigger, faster, and more powerful than Titanic, and soon after sailing her maiden voyage in 1936, she captured the prestigious Blue Riband. However, with the dawn of the jet age in the late 1950s, the Queen Mary was losing money, and after a failed career as a cruise liner, she was withdrawn from service in 1967. That is when she started her life as a tourist attraction in Long Beach, where she was permanently docked and became a luxury hotel that she is today. The ship attracts thousands of visitors a year, and has also gained the reputation as one of the most haunted places in the world, with as many as 150 individual spirits supposedly lurking around. Not surprisingly though, as during her service, the ship witnessed as many as 49 deaths. It's door 13 that attracts the most activity, as it was the scene of 2 fatalities, the most recent being in 1966, when its heavy watertight door crushed an 18-year-old crew member during a routine drill. It's his bearded spirit dressed in blue overalls that allegedly walks the length of the shaft alley before disappearing on the approach to door 13. The 2 swimming pools on board are also a hotbed of paranormal activity, despite both pools now being closed. In the first-class swimming pool, women dressed in 1930s swimwear have been spotted wandering around the area where the pool once was, and sounds of splashing and laughter have been heard, along with wet footprints. The spirit of a young girl holding a teddy bear has also been spotted. In what was once the first-class lounge, a lady in a white dress has been seen dancing alone in the corner of the room, and in other first-class rooms scattered around the ship, there are sightings of a tall, dark-haired man in 1930s attire who regularly makes his presence felt. Other strange occurrences include taps turning on by themselves, lights turning off and on, cold spots, inexplicable knocking, and strange aromas. In the children's old playroom, a baby can be heard crying, and this is said to be the spirit of a baby boy who died there shortly after he was born. I wouldn't mind spending the night there, and I'm wondering if you ever have, or if you've ever visited. If so, what was it like? The Hollywood Sign. The Hollywood Sign is probably one of the most famous landmarks in the world. It stands proudly in the Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles, and in our modern world is a symbol of the glamour and affluence of movie stars and the film industry. However, the sign has a long history, and not all of it is glamorous. Many may not know it's one of the most haunted sites in LA. The original sign was constructed in 1923. It originally read Hollywoodland. Each letter stood at 50 feet high, and when illuminated with its 4,000 bulbs, it was a dazzling sight. Initially, it was only expected to last around 18 months, but with the emergence of American cinemas in Los Angeles, the sign became synonymous with the golden age of Hollywood, and an internationally recognized symbol of the film industry, so it was decided to leave it in place. Over the years, it's had a few facelifts, and the land part of it was removed, but in 1932, it was the scene of a tragic event, when a young, aspiring actress named Peggy Entwistle took her life when she jumped off the top of the letter H. Peggy had moved to Hollywood and was looking for a big break, but she struggled to stand out amongst all the other actresses competing for the same thing, and she ended up out of work and heartbroken after a recent breakup. On the night of September the 16th, 1932, she set off in the darkness and made her way up to Mount Lee, to the then Hollywoodland sign. Using a maintenance ladder, she climbed to the top of the H and then jumped to her death. The next day, her body was found by a hiker, along with a suicide note that read, "I am afraid, I am a coward, I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain. P.E." An extremely sad end to a young lady at the age of just 24. Stories of Peggy's ghost in the area started to emerge in the 1940s, when the H mysteriously toppled over, and hikers began reporting sightings of a confused-looking blonde lady dressed in 1930s clothing, who would vanish if approached. The smell of gardenias, Peggy's favourite perfume, has also been smelled hundreds of times. Throughout the years, many of the Griffin Park Rangers claim to have seen the ghost of Peggy, especially on foggy nights. If any of you have any strange tales of the Hollywood sign, then I would love to hear them. the New Amsterdam Theatre in New York City. The New Amsterdam was built in 1903, and at the time of construction was the largest theatre in New York. Today, it's one of the oldest surviving Broadway theatres, and is the flagship for Disney theatrical productions. Over the years, it's been host to many well-known shows, and has had its fair share of tragedy surrounding some of its leading actors. However, there is one sad story that stands out, and that is of Olive Thomas, whose ghost is said to still haunt the theatre where she spent happier times in her short life. Olive Thomas was an actress, model and cover girl who caught the eye of Florenz Ziegfeld Jr., who produced the famous Ziegfeld Follies at the New Amsterdam Theatre. In 1915, Olive made her debut with the Follies, and her popularity led to her being cast in Ziegfeld's Midnight Frolic Show, a show for wealthy gentlemen guests who willingly gifted their money to the female performers. This new role was profitable, and she received extravagant gifts from her admirers. In 1916, she married Jack Pickford, who was the youngest brother of film star Mary Pickford. It was around this time that Olive's silent movie career also started to take off. However, her marriage with Pickford was tumultuous, with rumours of his alcoholism and womanising. So in 1920, in a last-ditch attempt to save their marriage, the pair decided to take a second honeymoon and headed for Paris. After a night of partying, the couple returned to their Paris hotel room, and an intoxicated Olive reached for a drink before screaming. Pickford rushed to her side, and after realising she had drunk a liquid solution that had been prescribed to him to topically treat sores caused by his chronic syphilis, he tried to make her vomit. Olive was rushed to hospital, but died 5 days later. For most of this time, she was conscious and was not aware that she would die. Her death was recorded as accidental, due to acute nephritis caused by mercury absorption. Jack Pickford brought his wife's body back to the United States, and she was interred in a crypt at the Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx. At the time, her death was viewed as one of the first major Hollywood scandals, with conspiracy rumours rife and a lot of unanswered questions. Not long after her death, stagehands at the New Amsterdam began telling friends that they had run into Olive backstage, despite knowing that she was dead. She was seen wearing her green beaded Follies dress, her beaded headpiece, and her sash carrying a blue bottle. Over the years, the theatre fell into disrepair before it was rescued by the Disney Corporation in 1995. This is when Dana Amendola, the man who was put in charge of restoring the New Amsterdam Theatre, received a strange phone call at 2:30 a.m. It was from a hysterical security officer who had been patrolling the theatre. He claimed he saw a woman on the stage in a green beaded dress, headpiece and sash, holding a blue bottle. He shouted at her, and she left the stage and walked straight through the wall. But this was far from the only sighting. During the renovations in the 90s, workers had several encounters with Olive. Nowadays, she is said to be a regular visitor to the theatre, although does not mingle with the audience and prefers to make her presence known when they have gone. To this day, 2 portraits of her are on the wall backstage. Olive has been known to cause mischief if she isn't happy about something, and sets sometimes shake for no apparent reason. Light bulbs often burn out, and electrical malfunctions occur all too often to be a coincidence. All of this has led many to believe the New Amsterdam is one of the most haunted theatres in the United States, and I would love to know if you have any stories to share about it. So that's 5 of some of the most haunted locations and buildings in America. I hope you've enjoyed the second episode of this series, and next week we will be talking about the most haunted places in Asia. And don't forget to follow Top 5s on Instagram. That way you can keep up to date with all the behind the scenes work and exclusive content. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.